You're banned from Thanksgiving, idiot. That's the text I got from my mom while the rest of my family laughed in the background. I could practically hear them through the message, the snickers, the whispers, the smug satisfaction of finally having an excuse to exclude me. I stared at the screen for a long second, the words almost glowing against the dim light of my apartment. Then I typed one word back. Okay. What they didn't know was that I meant it. Really meant it. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. For years, I'd been the one keeping the wheels turning behind their so-called perfect family holidays. I paid the electric bill when Dad forgot. I covered the water when Mom's online shopping sprees overdraft their account. I even helped my younger brother with tuition once when he didn't qualify for aid. But they never saw me as part of the family, not really. I was just the quiet one, the responsible one. The one who handled things. And apparently, the one they could mock when they were bored. That text, that stupid, cruel little sentence, was supposed to humiliate me. Instead, it flipped a switch I didn't know I had. I remember setting my phone down, taking a deep breath, and feeling this strange calm wash over me. Thanksgiving was 3 days away. I didn't plan on spending it alone crying. No, I planned to spend it watching their picture-perfect holiday crumble, piece by piece, as reality hit them where it hurt most, their comfort. It started the next morning. I went through every bill that had my name attached to it. The electric? Under my account. The water? Same. Internet and phone service? Guess who had set that up? They had no idea. They just paid me their share each month through Venmo, never realizing that I was the one managing everything. I had done it because, well, family. I thought helping them meant keeping us connected. Turns out, all it did was make me their unpaid assistant. So when Mom's text came through, calling me an idiot, telling me I was banned, I decided to take her at her word. I logged into the utility accounts and began clicking cancel one by one. The electric would shut off in 48 hours. Water service, gone by Friday. The Wi-Fi? Instantly disconnected. I felt a little pang of guilt at first. But then I remembered the years of snide comments, the jokes about me being too sensitive, and that text message echoing in my head. Banned. Fine. Let's see how they enjoyed a Thanksgiving without me, and without running water. By Thanksgiving morning, I'd made other plans. A couple of my coworkers had invited me to a friend-giving at their apartment downtown. It was small but warm, filled with laughter. Actual laughter, not the cruel kind that always seemed to follow me at family events. We cooked, drank wine, and played old board games. For once, I wasn't the quiet one in the corner. I was just Laura, the girl who brought pie and didn't have to earn her place at the table. Around noon, my phone started buzzing. Once, twice, then again and again. At first, I ignored it. I figured maybe Mom was sending one of her guilt trip texts. But after the 10th ring, I checked my screen, 12 missed calls from Dad, 16 from Mom, and several from my brother. I didn't answer. When the total hit 64 missed calls, I finally opened my messages. The first one read, "Laura, what the hell did you do? The power's out." Then another, "Internet's gone too. We can't cook, oven's electric. Call us now." I laughed, an actual, uncontrollable laugh that startled the people around me. For years, I'd been the backup plan. The invisible fixer. The one who cleaned up every mess while they acted like I didn't exist. And now, for the first time, I wasn't available. As the evening rolled in, I turned my phone off completely. The last thing I saw before the screen went black was another message from Mom. "Are you serious, Laura? You ruined Thanksgiving. Everyone's furious. You're unbelievable." Maybe. But for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the idiot. I felt free. What I didn't know then was that this single act, canceling a few bills, would ignite a storm in my family. One that would reveal every lie, every manipulation, and every buried resentment we'd all been pretending didn't exist. Because once the lights go out, people start seeing things clearly. When I finally turned my phone back on the next morning, I had a mix of notifications, missed calls, texts, and one very long voicemail from my dad that started calm and ended somewhere between panic and rage. "Laura, listen," his voice said, low and shaky. Your mother's freaking out. The turkey's half-cooked. Your brother's trying to run an extension cord to the neighbors, and the Wi-Fi's down. You need to call the electric company right now and fix this mess. I sat there in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the message like it was background noise. I didn't owe them anything, not after the way they'd treated me. Still, there was this small, old part of me that almost wanted to cave, to fix it, to be the responsible daughter again. But then I remembered that text, "You're banned from Thanksgiving, idiot." They wanted me gone. Well, I was gone. The next message came from my brother, Tyler. He wrote, "Mom's losing it. She said if you don't turn the power back on, she's gonna call the cops." I actually laughed out loud. Call the cops? On me? For canceling services that were in my name and paid with my money? I couldn't help but think how ridiculous it sounded. That was the thing about my family, they never saw how dependent they were on me. I had made their lives so convenient that they forgot who was behind the curtain. Growing up, Mom always liked to say I was too quiet for my own good. What she really meant was that I didn't fight back. I'd just take things, the insults, the favoritism, the guilt trips, and keep helping anyway. Because I wanted to be needed. But that need had turned into a trap. It started years ago when I first moved out. My parents' credit was a mess, and they asked me to open a few utilities under my name, temporarily. I didn't think much of it, I trusted them. I was working full-time, had decent credit, and wanted to help. I thought that's what family did. Then the temporary turned into permanent. They'd send me their share each month, sometimes late, sometimes short, but always with an excuse. Your dad's paycheck was delayed, or I'll send it Friday. I kept covering the gaps because it was easier than arguing. By the time Thanksgiving rolled around this year, I'd had enough. I was tired of being the invisible support beam while everyone else played house above me. So no, I wasn't about to rush in and fix their blackout. Later that afternoon, I scrolled through Facebook, because of course, my family lives half their lives on there, and saw a new post from my mom. Well, some people just love ruining holidays for others. Guess that's what happens when you raise an ungrateful daughter. The comments were rolling in. Aunts, cousins, even her church friends chiming in with, "Oh no, what happened?" and "You're such a saint for dealing with that, sweetie." Typical. She was painting herself as the victim while conveniently leaving out the part where she banned her own daughter over text. I didn't comment. I didn't even react. But I did screenshot it, every single word. Because I had a feeling this wasn't over. That night, I made myself a cup of cocoa and watched a movie while they sat in a dark, cold house pretending everything was fine. My phone buzzed a few times, but I ignored it. I was finally starting to feel what peace actually felt like. The next day, though, things escalated. At 9:42 a.m., I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Laura, this is ridiculous." It was Mom. "Do you have any idea what you've done? We couldn't even finish cooking. Everyone had to go to your aunt's house. We were embarrassed in front of the whole family." I took a slow sip of my coffee and said, as calmly as I could, "I'm just doing what you asked, Mom. You said I was banned. So I took that seriously." There was a long pause on the other end. I could hear her breathing hard. Then, quietly, she said, "You're punishing us." I didn't answer that directly. "Maybe this is just a break we all needed," I said instead. She hung up without another word. I thought that was the end of it, that they'd eventually figure it out, pay their own bills, and move on. But that's not what happened. Because when you take power away from people who are used to controlling everything and everyone, they don't just let it go. Over the next few days, my mom started calling my work number. Then my dad messaged my boss on Facebook, claiming it was a family emergency. My brother even showed up at my apartment once, pounding on the door, shouting that I'd humiliated them. They weren't just mad that the lights went out. They were mad that I'd stopped letting them use me. I knew this was only the beginning. Because if my mom was good at anything, it was making herself the victim, and she was about to make this whole thing look like I'd burned the entire family down. But this time, I was ready to tell the truth, all of it. By Monday morning, I realized my mom wasn't going to let this go quietly. She'd taken her campaign public. A friend from high school texted me a screenshot of another one of Mom's Facebook posts. This one said, Imagine your own child sabotaging your family's Thanksgiving out of spite. Some people are just born heartless. Underneath were dozens of comments, distant relatives and family friends all echoing the same thing. That's awful, Linda. You deserve better. How could she do that to you? She always seemed like the quiet type. I guess we were wrong. It was surreal, like watching a bad movie where you're the villain, but nobody's showing the full script. I didn't respond. Not yet. I wanted to, God, I wanted to. But part of me knew that silence would sting more than any explanation. Still, it hurt. I won't lie, reading all those comments, seeing people I grew up around taking her side without question, it hit deep. But I also knew what they didn't, that every bill in that house, every warm dinner, every streaming movie night, all of it had been made possible because I quietly handled everything behind the scenes. Now that I'd stopped, the whole illusion was collapsing. By Tuesday, Mom called again. This time, her tone was different, not angry, but desperate. Laura, honey, she started, voice trembling. Listen, maybe I overreacted. I shouldn't have said what I said. We were all just stressed and… I cut her off. You didn't just say it, Mom. You texted it. You meant it. Silence. Then she sighed. Can we just forget this? We're family. You know your dad can't figure out those billing websites. The house is freezing and… I just need you to fix it. Please. That word, please, she said it like it was foreign, like it physically hurt her to use it. I could feel my throat tighten. For a moment, I almost caved. But then I pictured myself sitting alone in that apartment year after year while they laughed, whispered, and treated me like the family errand girl. So I said softly, no, Mom. You can call the companies yourself. Everything's in your name now. You'll just need to set up new accounts. She went quiet for a few seconds. Then, almost in a whisper, she said, You're really doing this to your own mother? I'm not doing anything to you, I said. I'm just done doing everything for you. She hung up again. That night, I cried. Not out of guilt, but out of exhaustion, years of pent-up frustration, of being manipulated, dismissed, and gaslit all coming to the surface. I thought maybe, after a few days, she'd calm down. But instead, things got worse. On Wednesday, my aunt called me. Laura, your mom's saying you're having some kind of breakdown. She said you're lashing out and cutting everyone off. I laughed bitterly. Yeah, because I stopped paying her bills. She's worried about you, my aunt said gently. No, I replied, she's worried about losing control. That was the truth of it. It wasn't about the lights, the Wi-Fi, or the turkey. It was about control, about the fact that, for once, they couldn't guilt me into fixing their chaos. But the more I tried to stay quiet, the more she pushed. By Thursday, I found out she'd contacted my HR department, yes, my HR department, claiming there was a family emergency and she couldn't reach me. My boss called me in, concerned, asking if I was okay. I had to smile through my frustration and explain that there was no emergency, just an overdramatic parent who didn't like boundaries. It was humiliating. But it also made something crystal clear. She'd do anything to drag me back under her thumb. That night, I finally broke my silence. I made a post of my own. It wasn't dramatic or petty, just factual. Since a lot of stories are floating around, here's the truth. I was told I'm banned from Thanksgiving, called an idiot, and laughed at by my own family. I accepted that and stopped paying the bills that were in my name. Everything else you're hearing is fiction. I wish them the best, but I'm done being treated like a doormat. I posted it, turned off comments, and went to bed. The next morning, I woke up to over 100 messages, not from family, but from people I hadn't talked to in years. Old classmates, coworkers, even distant cousins, all saying some version of, "Good for you. Proud of you for standing up for yourself. Wish I had the guts to do the same." For the first time in my life, people saw through her act. The story had flipped. My mom didn't post again for a while after that. I think she realized her usual tactics weren't working. But behind the scenes, the damage was done, and my family was cracking apart in ways I didn't expect. Because when you pull one thread, everything else starts to unravel. And soon, I'd learned that this was never just about me paying the bills. It was about years of secrets they'd kept hidden, ones that were about to surface now that the lights were finally out. After my post went viral in our little hometown circle, the silence that followed was eerie. For nearly a week, I didn't hear a single word from my parents. No calls, no texts, no Facebook drama. Just quiet. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd finally accepted that I wasn't their safety net anymore. But then, one evening, around 7:30, there was a knock at my door. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I looked through the peephole, my stomach dropped. It was my dad. He was standing there in his winter coat, looking tired, older than I remembered, and holding a folder in his hands. I opened the door halfway, keeping my guard up. "Dad," he sighed, rubbing his temple. "Can I come in? Just for a minute." Against my better judgment, I let him. He sat at the edge of my couch, looking around my apartment like it was foreign territory. I stayed standing. "Your mom's, she's been upset," he started. "You really hurt her, Laura." I folded my arms. "She banned me from Thanksgiving, Dad. What did you expect me to do? Bake her a pie anyway?" He looked down, silent. I could tell he knew I was right, but years of living with her had trained him not to say it out loud. He opened the folder on his lap and pulled out a few papers. "Listen, I didn't come here to fight. I came to ask for help. The house is behind on payments, mortgage, utilities, everything. Your mom's been using the money you send her for other stuff. Credit cards. Shopping. She told me you'd been covering it." I froze. He wasn't wrong. I had been covering it unknowingly. Every time she said, "We're a little short this month," I'd step in. She'd promised she'd pay me back. She never did. I sat down slowly. "So what are you saying?" He looked me dead in the eyes. "I'm saying the house might be foreclosed in a month if we don't fix this. Your mom's been hiding how bad things are." It was like everything finally clicked. The reason she'd lashed out at me, the cruel text, the manipulation, it wasn't just about Thanksgiving. It was about fear. She'd been hiding a financial mess for months, maybe years, and I'd been the one unknowingly keeping it afloat. And when I stopped, the whole facade collapsed. I took a deep breath. "Dad, I'm sorry. But that's not my responsibility anymore. You and Mom made your choices." He nodded slowly, like he'd expected that. Then he said something that shocked me. "I know," he whispered. "I just wanted to tell you that I'm proud of you for walking away." I blinked. "What?" He gave this small, tired smile. "Your mom, she has a way of controlling everyone around her. Even me. I should have stopped it years ago. But I didn't. You're the first one who ever stood up to her. And I think, deep down, that's what's really driving her crazy." I didn't know what to say. Hearing that from him, the quiet man who always stood in her shadow, meant more than I could admit. We sat in silence for a while before he stood up to leave. At the door, he turned back and said, "She'll come around eventually. But don't cave, Laura. Let her face the mess she made." After he left, I sat there for a long time, staring at the papers he'd left behind, overdue bills, final notices, credit card statements. My mom wasn't just manipulative, she was drowning in debt, and she'd dragged the whole family down with her. And yet, part of me still felt sorry for her. That night, I got another text from her. No insults this time. Just, "I didn't mean to hurt you." I was scared. For the first time in my life, I saw her as human, not the angry, controlling figure I'd always known, but someone terrified of losing everything she'd built her identity around. I didn't reply. Not out of spite, but because I needed space to understand what I felt. Over the next few weeks, word spread about what really happened. My aunt called to apologize. A few cousins even messaged me privately saying they'd had similar experiences, my mom guilt-tripping them, borrowing money, promising to pay it back and never doing so. It was like a curtain had finally been pulled back. Everyone was seeing her clearly now. By Christmas, my parents had managed to get their utilities back up on their own this time. I heard from my dad that things were tense, but quieter. My mom wasn't posting online anymore. She'd stopped trying to control the narrative. And me? I was starting to breathe again. I got promoted at work that month. Started saving for a trip I'd always wanted to take. My friends, the ones from friend giving, were becoming like a second family to me. For once, I didn't dread the holidays. I didn't feel small, invisible, or guilty for existing. But the biggest moment came a few weeks later when I checked my mailbox and found an envelope with no return address. Inside was a check for $1,200, no note, no explanation. Just my name written neatly on the front. It wasn't hard to guess who sent it. It wasn't the full amount she owed me, not even close. But it was something her way of saying, I see you now. That was the real revenge. Not turning off the lights. Not canceling the bills. But finally getting her to realize I wasn't the powerless daughter she could push around anymore. It's been almost a year since that Thanksgiving. And if you'd told me back then that one cruel text from my mom would lead to all this, to peace, to boundaries, to finding my own voice, I would have laughed. But now, sitting here with my morning coffee and sunlight pouring through my kitchen window, I realize it was the best thing that ever happened to me. People like to think revenge has to be loud, that it's about shouting, fighting, proving you're right. But I learned that sometimes, the best revenge is simply walking away and letting people face themselves without the safety net you used to provide. After the holidays, I didn't talk to my mom for 3 full months. My dad texted occasionally, little updates about how they were working things out. I never asked for details, but I could tell he was different. Lighter. More open. One night, he called and said something that stuck with me. Your mom's been trying to cook dinner with candles lately. Says it helps her remember last Thanksgiving. We both laughed, genuinely laughed, and it hit me how far things had come. For once, I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't want to get even. I just wanted to live my life without being their scapegoat. Then, one afternoon in March, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something told me to pick up. Laura. It was Mom. Her voice sounded small. I wanted to say thank you. For forcing me to grow up. I didn't say anything right away. I just listened. She continued, I know I was horrible to you. I was angry and embarrassed and scared. You've always been stronger than me, even when I tried to make you feel weak. That was the first honest thing she'd said to me in years. We talked for a while, not about the past, but about normal things. Work. The garden. How Dad was learning to pay bills online now. It felt strange, like talking to a different person wearing the same voice. When we hung up, I didn't cry this time. I just smiled. That was the closure I didn't know I needed. A few weeks later, she sent me a photo. It was her and Dad sitting at the dinner table, just the two of them, no big family crowd, no decorations. The caption read, Small Thanksgiving. Big peace. And in that moment, I realized something profound. Sometimes, people can change. But only after you stop enabling them to stay the same. As for me, I've built something better. My coworkers, the same ones who invited me to that friend giving, have become like family. We celebrate together, laugh over burnt pies and cheap wine, and no one calls anyone idiot. We just exist, comfortably, as people who care about each other. Last Thanksgiving, they surprised me. They'd printed a photo of us from that first friend giving and framed it. On the back, they wrote, To Laura for showing us that peace tastes better than revenge. I teared up reading it. Because they were right. Revenge got me started. But peace, real peace, that's what kept me going. When people online ask about my story, because yeah, someone ended up sharing it on Reddit after all, they always focus on the 64 missed calls part. They say, that's so savage, or she got them good. But the truth is, I didn't do it to be savage. I did it because I was tired of being the family's silent punching bag. I wanted to be seen, respected, and free. Cutting them off financially wasn't about punishment, it was about balance. It forced everyone, including me, to confront what we'd been ignoring. And in the end, the power didn't come from turning off their lights. It came from realizing I didn't need their approval anymore. Now, when I get texts from my mom, they start with, Hey, honey, instead of insults. Sometimes, we even talk on video call brief, polite, human. It's not perfect, but it's real. And that's enough. As for Thanksgiving this year, I'm hosting it. Not at my parents' house, not under fluorescent lights and fake smiles, but here, in my own apartment, surrounded by the people who actually make me feel at home. We'll eat, laugh, and tell stories. I might even tell this one about the year my mom texted, "You're banned from Thanksgiving, idiot," and I replied with a simple, "Okay." Because that okay changed everything. It wasn't just the start of my revenge, it was the start of my freedom. Sometimes, revenge isn't about getting even. It's about letting go and watching the people who took you for granted realize just how much they needed you all along. And that's today's story. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply walking away and letting karma do the work. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Revenge Files, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another real-life revenge story. Got your own story to share? Drop it in the comments. Your story might be the next one we tell. Thanks for watching, and remember, revenge isn't always about getting even. Sometimes it's about getting free.